And
It's still afternoon here.
Namaskar.
Yes, we can cover all of the bases, right? Since we have such a global community, it's early morning for some and late evening for others. I think it would be great. We love to start the meetings and the sessions by just inviting everyone
No
to
in-person
share,
meeting.
yeah, in the chat where they're coming from, their city and country. We love to see that. It gets us charged up to know that so many of our friends are sitting in different parts of the world and bringing energy and ideas from all across the globe. But I think we can go ahead and get started. Ritika, perhaps we'll turn it to you.
Thank you, Jim. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's so lovely to see everyone. We're really, really excited as the conference coming really close by, and we'll be talking about counseling as a culture and learning from all the expertise from all of you and your network. I am currently in Mumbai, though based out of Gurgaon. And in Mumbai, it just feels we're getting ready to welcome all of you back home.
Yes,
I'll pass it
wonderful.
on to the others. Jim, you know I'm very talkative, but I'll pass it on to others.
Thank you, Ritika. And for those who haven't had the chance yet to interact or to meet Ritika, Ritika is the executive director for conferences and forums, the IC3 movement, and really they're leading all of the efforts. And of course, the focus for this conversation is around session proposals. And we'll turn it over to two of our IC3 leaders in just a moment. But really, the focus is for us to inspire you, encourage you, and make sure that all of your proposals are coming in so that the committee has a really, really difficult job to review those proposals and welcome the most diverse and high quality content from around the world. And we know that that is really what the annual IC3 conference and expo is all about. So Ritika, thank you for leading us and creating the platform for all of us to come together at the conference. It really means a lot to everyone here and to those of us that are around the world who will be there. And before I have the opportunity to introduce Soma and Kerryn, Preeti, if we could just step forward on the slides I just want to give share some brief notes to the Student Quest survey, which is happening, which has actually just begun. Survey collection is just beginning now. And, I want to just take 30 seconds or a minute to give some context here, particularly for all of our colleagues who are joining us today from schools. If you're a school counselor, you're a school teacher, you're a school principal, an administrator of any kind, we want to invite you to take part in the 2025 Student Quest survey. This has been an annual tradition, which has really changed the landscape of knowledge and understanding about career and college counseling globally. The annual Student Quest report is published every year in August. It began in 2020. So we're now here getting ready to put together and collect all of the insights from you and your student communities to produce the 2025 annual Student Quest report, which of course is freely accessible on the IC3 Institute's website for anyone. This is collective wisdom and collective knowledge for us. But I want to just mention a couple of things. Between now and the next month is the survey collection. And it's really important that you understand, one, there is a counselor component, right? So if you're a school delegate, you should yourself take the survey. It's purely anonymous. Not even your school name is captured, right? But we're getting a sense of very important aspects about counseling and how it's developing, right? What are the needs? Where are the gaps? What are the strengths? All right. And then all of us will be able to benefit from those insights. It's really important that your regions, that your communities are represented. Okay. So that's the first thing. The second is we would encourage all of our schools, right, with the appropriate permissions within your school to share this within your student community of the graduating classes of 2026 and 2027. Again, purely anonymous, no student names, no student data, nothing, right? This is aggregate data that will be insights for us, right, around what the counseling experience is like from the counselor perspective and the student perspective. Okay, so I just wanted to share that. You're going to be all invited to participate and disseminate that. For our university colleagues who are here, though you won't be taking the survey itself, we would really encourage you to help us disseminate this. Send this out to 10 schools that you're connected with in the United States, in Nepal, in India, in Brazil, in China, wherever you are. Please send this out and share that information, and we will make sure that we collectively share all of the insights that are garnered through this. And Beth, all of that information will be coming. We'll make sure that links and dissemination information really circulate. I don't know if we have that link here today, but we'll make sure that if we do, we get that in the chat. So without further ado, we have a great discussion, and I want to introduce two very special people. Firstly, Soma Dam, who is the vice principal of the academics at the Suncity School in Gurgaon. Soma is the co-chair of the IC3 Content and Research Committee and has been a longtime member of that committee and really just been driving content and inspiring us all for many years now. And her counterpart today, Kerryn Johnson, who's an international admission counselor at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. Kerryn has also been a part of this committee. Is it 2 years or 3 years now, Kerryn?
This will be my official second year.
Yes. So we're delighted to have you both leading us in how we can put together a dynamic session proposal. And we'll turn it over to you, Soma. Kerryn, thanks so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jim. If we can go to the next slide. Wonderful. So today, Soma and I will be co-presenting, just giving a brief introduction about the IC3, the call for proposals, the theme and sub-themes, and what you can focus on during those proposals as you're starting to get inspiration on what you should be presenting on. We'll also talk about the components of the proposal and how diversity and perspective will have a big play in that. And then, of course, provide some resources and, of course, deadlines, as we all love. So first, if you want to go to the next slide. Wonderful. So we do have 6 themes here. Our themes are counseling as a culture. So we do have 6 here, sub-themes that we are really focusing on this year at the conference. And so as you are thinking about proposals, this is something I would definitely keep in mind to get some inspiration on what kind of topics you can be presenting on. So we do have, if you want more information about these sub-themes, there is a recorded LinkedIn Live that our team did on March 20th that goes much more in depth into these topics. So I would definitely encourage you to go back and take a look at that recorded session. But as a quick, brief overview, first one is aligning counseling and future world of work. So this is more focused on the understanding of how the intersection of technology, creativity, and education can help aid students in navigating their future career paths, such as like automation, emerging industries, and AI, as those continually reshape the workforce and workforce demands. Second is consciousness and well-being in education. So we want to empower institution educators and students to work collectively to create a counseling environment where emotional intelligence and well-being are key and are the cornerstones of success, especially at a time where mental health is a very crucial part of the educational experience. Third is reclaiming authenticity. So again, we want to focus on what the importance is of remaining true to oneself, how to develop self-awareness, and build meaningful connections with not only students, but with other colleagues, with institutions, with key stakeholders, and then how those integrate into your educational everyday work practices. Fourth is our institutional partnerships. So let's just going to highlight how those partnerships can provide opportunities for students, can help enrich those educational experiences, and of course, create pathways for collaboration across the globe. So in here, we really focus on how sustainable partnerships can enhance student success. Fifth is best practices in admissions and recruitment. So this sub-theme will explore strategies for building, strengthening, and sustaining effective admissions and recruitment practices, while also emphasizing the crucial collaboration between schools, universities, higher education institutions, while fostering sustainable growth. Then last but not least is foundations, trends, and ethics. So we want to, of course, explore foundations, current trends, and ethical standards that will take place in recruitment, admissions, and career and college counseling amidst like shifting dynamics of human and technological development. So these, of course, if you really think about it, can really all intersect really well together. So we're hoping that you can get some inspiration from these and think about what kind of proposal you want to focus on and really what you're passionate about. Next slide. Then I believe I will hand it over to Soma to go over those components.
Right. Thank you, Kerryn. So it's my job to take you through the next few slides, essentially talk about what goes into submitting a proposal, a session proposal, and not just submitting one, but submitting a session proposal that has a high chance of being accepted. So if you were to see, the proposal components include session title, of course, session description and learning objectives, sub-theme alignment, target audience, and session format. So the session title, I'll take you through all of them once we enter into the CVent platform, which is used to submit the proposal. So if you could go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so this is basically the page that you open, that will open once you wish to submit a proposal. You log in. To log in, you will have to create a login user ID and password, which will ask for basic details like your name and your email ID, and you're good to go. All right. So the first thing that you have to do is talk about your session proposal and what are the components within it. Of course, the session title. There is a maximum word limit of 10 words. Now, please understand that everything that is given in bullet points here also carries for us when we are going over and reviewing the proposal, a mark component also. So it's a mark out of 5, if I'm not mistaken. And we see how well it aligns with the overall theme, which is counseling as a culture, and then also with the sub-themes. So the session title has to align with the overall theme and also with the sub-theme that you're looking at. And it also has to be 10 words, right? Provide the session description, which is maximum of 110 words. Believe you me, 110 words seem like a lot right now, but when you're actually doing it, it's like, oh, wish it was 150 instead of 110. So in this session proposal, we are looking, we want to understand what it is that you want to drive home. What is the theme? What is it that you want to talk about in this particular session that you wish to deliver? After you've done that, then you also have to link your session with the particular sub-theme. So the 6 sub-themes that Kerryn has talked about, which one does it fit in best? And here is a tricky bit. Because you will find a lot of sessions that might overlap, sub-themes that might overlap. For example, future of work and locating authenticity, right? In the age of AI, these are 2 themes or sub-themes that can very easily overlap. So locating the particular theme and the correct sub-theme is also very, very important because, like I said, every theme and everything is marked, is given a certain amount of points. Okay. You also have to list 3 learning objectives of the session. Okay. We could have asked for 5, we could have asked for 6, but 3, I think, is a doable number. And if you're able to pinpoint 3, that's a great job done. Again, there is a word limit. So please try to stick to the word limit. I think beyond 110, it will not accept. So, three lesson learning objectives would mean ideally, three takeaways that your audience will walk away with once your session is over. The next thing that we look at is, of course, identifying which category of audience your session is catering to. Is it an introductory level session? Is it meant for the intermediate, counselors or counselors who have been there for a long, long time? So that identification, again, there is a possibility of overlap. A lot of sessions will cater to a wide section of audience, but there are certain specific ones which will cater to, maybe an introductory level. Okay, so counselors who have been doing this for, say, 1 or 2 years. Trends and ethics, I think it's data driven, it's very quantitative. That is something I think a lot of new counselors would be drawn towards, to see what is the trend, what is the trend in terms of college acceptances, what is the trend in terms of the new age careers that are coming up, and that's data driven. So that is something that new counselors would like to attend. If you go on to the next one, please. Have I done everything? No, sorry, I have missed step 2, which is also selecting your session format. So is your session going to be a presentation, or is it going to be a panel discussion? A presentation, again, works very well when you want to present data. It's very quantitative in nature, right? Whereas a panel discussion is very qualitative in nature. It is amenable to things like case studies or anecdotal descriptions of things that you've experienced. It is important to note that duration of all such sessions is 60 minutes, and you have to keep in mind that you have to set aside, say, 10 odd minutes for question and answer. The third step in this entire process asks for additional information that you wish to share with the content and research committee. Okay, so that additional information might be an extension of your session description, which was only limited to 110 words. If you wish to throw in things like, okay, this is going to be, there will be a Kahoot quiz maybe, or a Mentimeter that you wish to do. So all of those things that you could not put in your session description can go in this additional details section. The fourth step would obviously be about you, the person. So we would require your full name, your professional details, and a short bio, very brief bio. Do remember it. We are looking at a diverse panel. So we are looking at 3 to 4 panelists. And when you're submitting, ideally, I'm not saying you'll have all 4 in place, but we would wish if you could at least have 2 or 3 who are in place and whose bio and other details you can submit. Right. So if you were to go through again, sorry for repeating these steps, log into your account, you create your account. If you're new to the platform,
Shoma, I think we lost you.
I can continue as she's
Yeah, that'd
finding
be
her way
great.
back
Thanks, Kerryn.
into cyberspace. Are you here? Okay, I think we can probably go to the next slide. I think, yes, just the most important part is creating that account. Even if you did apply or submit a proposal last year, you'll still have to create a new account. Okay.
am I there?
All right,
Can
yes.
you hear me? Am I back?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, my internet was unstable for, I think, a minute or so.
right.
Yeah. So if you're a new user, you obviously have to create an account. Very simple. Put in your address that you use frequently and not one whose password you've forgotten. And there it is. You have created an account. For those who have already used Cvent and have been, submitting proposals for the last. Okay. Next slide. Yeah. So if you were to see session title, minimum of 10 words, right? Then your session description, 100
I think we lost you again.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in here, Kerryn, as
Okay.
well. I think Soma, thank you. I know sometimes the technology has other plans for
It
us,
never
but
goes as planned.
yeah, that's right. So let me just jump in here, and
Awesome.
as we look at your session proposal, the various aspects, and obviously Corinne and Soma have already been outlining that. But what we wanted to show you was really what this will look like when you're in the system, and as you go throughout this proposal process, it will essentially guide you, right? So you have your title, your session description, and what I want to share here is that is the exact verbiage. Should your session be invited to be presented at the conference, that information will be used exactly for whatever's published in the mobile app, in the conference program booklet. The committee, in some cases, does recommend and make some minor edits and tweaks just to fit into format, but we would really ask you to be very detail oriented in that, not only for the review process that the committee will undergo, that your session will undergo by the committee, but that you think about this is this ready to be published, right? Does this really give a good representation of what my session is about? Will this be attractive to people who are looking through all of these various sessions that are going to happen at any given time at the conference and say, yes, this is a session that I want to attend? So do keep those things in mind. And then obviously you would select the sub theme that is associated with your particular session. And for me, over the years, I have found the sub themes really to be such an inspiration. I think as you go through and you're really looking at these sub themes, we all know that certain ones really resonate, right? Certain ones really resonate with you. And one from my standpoint that's very much resonating with me right now is reclaiming authenticity. How do we do that? How do we model this for our students? What does that mean for us in a social media age? All of these areas that are very relevant for us. And we're talking about how do we advise students in presenting themselves in a university context? Are we encouraging them to just create a profile, or are we encouraging them to actually create purpose in doing so? So it's all of these things, and whatever is resonating with you, that's what we want to come out and that the committee really looks for in your proposals. And then, of course, one requirement is your learning objectives. It's very important that you have a specific plan and that here are the things that I want to accomplish. At the end of this session, participants will, right? And then you put some active verbs around really what you want to achieve during the session. That gives the committee a lot of insights. And then optionally, and this is a new component, optionally, if you want to really get in and give the committee and show the committee that you put a lot of thought and effort into this, you can provide an outline, right? Let us know what the flow of your session actually looks like, right? And we've seen over the years that sometimes what actually happens in the session isn't necessarily reflected in the proposal. So it's important that you're really thoughtful about this, and all of those pieces are there. And then the level of content. Is this for an introductory audience? Is this for an intermediate audience? Is this for an advanced audience? So I don't know, Soma, if we have you back, I'd be happy to turn the mic back over to you. If we do have you, otherwise, I'm happy, Kerryn, to tag team this with you and we'll go for it. But I think either way, we can go to the next slide.
I'm back. Am I audible?
Yes.
Visible?
Yes, you are, Soma. And I'll be here.
Okay.
We're happy to jump in if there's any issue. We have
I'm
your back.
sorry, I think my internet is acting up.
Not a worry. Not a
All
worry.
right.
Over to you.
Okay, so the next, of course, thing that we have to decide is the format of the session proposal. Will it be a presentation, or will it be a panel discussion, or anything else that you have in mind? It can also be a workshop, right, where you have a lot of involvement of the participants. And again, like I said, a presentation is something that works, I think, in my personal opinion, works better with data, when it is more quantitative in nature and you have a lot of things to show. And a panel discussion works better when it is more qualitative in nature and you have case studies to discuss and anecdotal stories to go over. Right? Next slide, please. Yeah. You have to then, as an additional detail, specify the target audience that you seek to cater to and who will find maximum value out of attending these sessions. Because do remember, there are multiple sessions going on at the same time. And for a school or for a university, you just might have 2 or 3 individuals attending, or maybe even one. So for that one individual to really, really get the maximum out of that particular session of that 1 hour. So audience, is it a high school counselor or a high school delegate or a university delegate or someone from an organization like, I don't know, maybe Study in France, that kind of an organization. Or it is something that caters to every kind of audience who is attending the conference, and everyone will have some key takeaway after they have attended the session. Right. Additional information, like Jim stated, how does the session flow? What is it that how? I mean, you're not asking for step 1, step 2, step 3, but if there is a script or if there is a description that is beyond the session description, please add that in here, because while we are reviewing a very static document. But the session is a very dynamic thing. So I think the additional information comes in handy. It makes it more dynamic. While we're reading, we can somehow visualize what it will look like. Not to say we don't get it wrong. We are human at the end of the day, but it just makes our life easy. Again, then other information like, have you attended an IC3 conference? Those are, I think, basic demographic details that we need to all fill in. Have we ever presented? The first time I presented at a conference was last year, and I've been part of this committee for the last 8 odd years, I think, or 7 odd years. Just did not have the courage, most of us, or was too lazy about it, either way. So let's not be lazy or scared. Let's just do this. Right, next slide, or sorry, if you can go to the next slide, because I think the rest of it was pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, moderator details, whoever submits the proposal. Not all of you can submit the proposal. So if you're a team of 4, there will be one person who will be submitting the proposal on your behalf, and all information about the session and about the proposals will be sent to this particular individual. So whether it has been accepted or it has been waitlisted or rejected, then details about when the presentation, as in the PPT, needs to go in, all of those details are sent to the moderator. That's something I think we should keep in mind. And we require the details of everyone who will be part of this particular panel. Again, one major stumbling block might be that you feel this is a 4-person panel, but you're stuck at 2, or if you're stuck at 3, but it's a great idea. Don't worry, submit. We will find that 3rd or 4th person for you. Okay, if you can mention that in the additional details that we feel this is a 4-person panel, but we only have 2, can you help us look for person 3 and person 4? Sometimes we might also get back to you saying that, maybe can you have one more person, or maybe it's not diverse enough. Can you reach out? Can you find someone else to present along with you? So it's a 2-way street. It works both ways. But the first thing is you need to submit, because without that, this will not happen. So you fill in your details for everyone who is part of the panel. Okay. And I know it is it's not really cumbersome, but yeah, it does get, especially writing a biography about yourself, not my cup of tea. But it's fun, introspect, and just write something. Right. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, and that's it. Review your proposal and submit. You preview it, see whether you've got all the details in every step, and submit. Click the submit button. That's it. You're good to go. And it's not as if you can submit only one proposal. You can submit multiple proposals. With the essence is to ensure whatever proposal you're submitting, it's a diverse panel and a diverse viewpoint you're representing. because do remember, people from across the globe will be there. People who are high school counselors, university representatives of other organizations are all there, right? So the point of view and the perspective has to be from as many quarters as possible and involving as many stakeholders as possible. So the key to a successful proposal is diversity. Yes. Next slide. And is that where I hand over to you? Yes, thank you.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you, Soma. So before I move on, so I will highlight a couple examples and just read a couple key examples of descriptions of sessions that were presented last year at the IC3 conference. But I do also want to share a quick reminder that you don't have to be on a IC3 committee or be an IC3 member to present. We want to invite any and all educators, whether you've been to an IC3 conference before or not. We really want that diversity. We really want to welcome all. So we definitely encourage you to even reach out to, universities or counselors that you have just met throughout the years that you think could be really key in helping you present. And I also do want to remind you that in order to present, you do have to be at the conference in person. So keep that in mind as you're completing these and as you're talking with your schools about your attendance this August. Just keep in mind, if you do want to present, you will want to be here in person. So I will move on and talk a little bit about the diversity and perspectives. So here is one example of a session that was presented at last year. So the title is Career and Professional Development Opportunities in Global Context. So again, here the title, we wanted to share as much information about the session as we can in 10 words or under. So it can be challenging, but we really want to try and, from a quick glance, when you're going through sessions, when you're at a conference, you really want a title that's going to catch your eye and really speak to the attendees right away. So that is something important to really try to get, everything you can in that title that can really help attract the attendees to read the rest of your session description. So before I go into the description, you can kind of see here there's 4 different speakers. So these speakers are actually admissions representatives from 4 different countries and 4 different regions. So that is where that diversity comes into play. They're all going to have very different perspectives based on where they're from, regional, cultural, types of institutions as well. So this is key. It does not have to be always, diversity does not just mean like a university representative and a school counselor. It can be also, counselors or representatives from across different regions. So bear with me. I will share with you their description as a key example. So their description for this session is internationally mobile students pursue professional growth and development experiences when they study abroad. And the opportunities available for students vary by country. Learn more about what students considering higher education students in Australia, Hong Kong, and the UK and the US should expect regarding internships, networking experiences, employment opportunities, and permanent residency. So join the session to learn what steps students should take before higher education to prepare for positive career outcomes and how counselors can support students in their professional explorations while in secondary school. So that session, that description did a really wonderful job at talking about what they're going to cover in their presentation, but that it also mentioned at the end the key takeaways that they're hoping the audience can leave with after that hour session. So it's, kind of shows you from start to finish what you should be getting within that hour span. Next slide. Awesome. So here's another example it's called Feeling My Age in Line with Gen Alpha. Again, you can see here a pretty good diverse group of presenters. So in this session, we had 2 university representatives and 2 school counselors from both India and the US. So again, this is even better because we're getting perspectives from both views of the student as they're going through their college and career counseling. So again, I can kind of read this description. Again, this is good as you're reading this, just keep in mind and listen for, how they talk about what they're going to be covering and then what we should be leaving with as the audience. So as professionals, we become more seasoned and experienced with more years under our belt. However, our students remain the same age. With the rapid progression of technology, how can we keep up with the advancements that shape our youth's experiences? So this session will explore crucial topics such as the impact of AI tools like ChatGPT, effective strategies for university marketing to modern 17-year-olds, the evolving role of school visits, and the expansion of in-country representation. Join us to uncover answers to these critical questions and learn how to stay ahead in an ever-changing educational landscape. Together, we can ensure that our approaches remain relevant and effective, meeting the needs of today's students. So given that description, there definitely was talking about school visits, talking about university marketing, talking about, different ways to counsel. So it was definitely very key here that they had speakers from both the university and the school counseling side. All right, next slide for the last again, but not least. The title being From Student Engagement to Empowerment, Reframing Recruitment Practices and Counselor Collaboration. So again, here, great diverse group of speakers, one university representative, and then 2 school counselors. Each of these speakers were actually from different countries. So again, different cultural backgrounds, experiences, different job titles, different population of students they could also be working with. So this one, and some of these two really get creative. I really enjoyed the description of this session, particularly because of how they set up drew a picture of what they're talking about. So the description is institutions walk into a high school, set up their tablecloths, and put out their fancy brochures. Students walk through the mass of institutions and leave just as confused as when they arrive. This situation stems from a one-sided approach, from institutional recruitment practices, and a missed opportunity to forge a deep collaboration with high school counselors. So in this session, we would like to present a perspective from both institution and high school counselors on how to navigate creating a space for students, institutions, and counselors that feels meaningful and productive. We all have the shared goal of desiring students to consume information critically. Therefore, we have to move beyond student engagement and into empowerment. So again, I feel like this one did a really good job of just painting that picture, so the audience could really draw in and picture themselves in this situation and really relate and want to learn more about this session and the content. So these are some wonderful examples of some of those. Again, feel free to get creative with it. All your speakers, make sure you're all kind of working together to really create a description in a session that is spoken by all of you, that you can hear every single speaker's voice within that proposal. Next slide. All right, so you have some really great resources here as we're moving forward. So of course, first is going to be that call for proposals. So if you scan that QR code, I'm sure we will also get the links in the chat. But this is really where you can learn just more about the conference in general, how to register for the conference, learn about the venue, and of course the schedule. As of now, it's going to be our tentative schedule of what that time looks like. And this is also where you can get all of the information we just talked about, all of the proposal guidelines, and the proposal submission form can also be found there. So feel free to look there at that call for proposal site and really just kind of start thinking about what you want to present on, who maybe you want to present with, and then we can kind of get going from there. Of course, then we also have a theme document. So again, I mentioned earlier that all 6 sub-themes, we did have a recorded LinkedIn Live session that was held on March 20th. If you were not able to attend that, that recording does live in on our the IC3's LinkedIn. So feel free to go back there and definitely watch that. I know there was a very wonderful discussion about each sub-theme. So definitely take a look at that as you are looking to get that proposal out there. So make sure you're looking at that. And then lastly is a separate session collaboration sheet. So Soma mentioned earlier, so as you're filling out that proposal submission form, you may not have all of your presenters, but you know, if you're a school counselor, maybe you know you want to have a university representative on your session, but you do not know who can that person be. So the session collaboration sheet, so like for myself, for example, I could put my name, put my contact information, and session sub-themes that I'm interested in or passionate about. So you could go there and look for anyone that might have similar interests to you and reach out to them and say, hey, would you like to be my co-presenter? So this is a great place for you to go see who is all interested in presenting, but may not have an actual group yet or a session proposal out there. So on the flip side of that, if you do want to present, but you are kind of hoping someone just adds you to their session, you can also put your contact on there, and then with the hopes that someone else can reach out to you as well. This is just a great way for you to also just meet new people. You do not actually have to know the people you are presenting with. This is also a wonderful way to collaborate and network with other school counselors from different regions or from university representatives, also from different regions, and really learn a lot as you are actually presenting or writing this proposal. So you can still be learning about this topic as you're presenting on it or proposing to present on it. So keep that in mind. I think this is an amazing thing that we definitely don't see a lot at a lot of conferences personally. So I think this is a wonderful opportunity for you to meet new people and also find other co-presenters. So there's those. I'll keep those there for you. If you want to go to the next slide. All right, important. So next Tuesday, April 15th, is the deadline for the call for proposals. So we have we're getting here very, very close, or not next Tuesday, the Tuesday after, in a week and a half, Tuesday, April 15th. So keep that in mind. That will come up very, very fast. So, start working on that, look at that collaboration sheet, find other co-presenters, start talking with your schools about your conference attendance. Just, kind of keep that in mind this week and really start to reach out and start working on those proposals. And then by Saturday, May 31st, all sessions will either be approved or not, and we will let everyone know through email if your session has been approved. So everything will be communicated by May 31st, just to give the team ample time to create the schedule and get everything ready for our conference in August. And I think that is it on my end, I believe. If you want to go to the next slide. Awesome. So I guess, yeah, now definitely keep it open for questions, answers, concerns, comments, anything like that. This is the great time to do so.
Thank you, Kerryn. Thank you, Soma. And yes, we'll look out for questions. You can use the chat. You can also just raise your hand and unmute. That'd be great. And while we're looking and waiting for those questions to come in, just a couple of notes from my end. April 15th is not only the call for proposals deadline, but remember, it's also the early bird deadline to register for the conference itself. So you want to make sure that you take advantage of that and you get your planning done. So mark that on your calendars as well. And we can see Priyash has a question there. And Kerryn, you addressed this earlier. What do we have to be physically present at the conference in order to present? And yes, the answer is yes. All speakers have to be physically present at the conference. Thanks for the question, Priyash, but yes. Is it essential to have a co-presenter? Yasmin, yes, it is. You have to have at least, and you'll see that in the proposal, there's a moderator. That's a required field, and co-presenter one is also a required field. Um, so that's important to know. And yes, you can have more. You're encouraged to have more, Yasmin. You're encouraged to have more, Yasmin. But yes, you do need at least one co-presenter. And yes, let me, I misspoke. Let me just correct myself and say the early bird deadline has actually passed. So just nix what I had shared, and my apologies there, but focus on the call for proposals deadline, which of course is April 15th. Thank you, Ritika, for that.
Yeah, and
Okay, yes.
Yasim, talking about co-presenters, I feel like, we've all probably been to conferences and been to professional development sessions, and all of the ones that I've like actually had key takeaways from and really left feeling like I learned something were those sessions that had co-presenters that were diverse. So always thought it was very helpful because then a session can speak to more people, speak to many different professions and educators by having different co-presenters and from different backgrounds or cultures. So it really will also just be important and essential for you to really have a really meaningful discussion or presentation. So.
Yes, that's right. That's right, Kerryn. And you have as many presenters as are appropriate for your session. Though, we can see that the committee's reviews have reflected, the more diverse and perspectives that you can bring. And I think it multiplies the learning. It amplifies the learning that can happen. If you have never presented at IC3, if you've not been to IC3, all the more reason why you should be submitting a proposal, right? Bring that perspective that has never been to that conference, right? That's really important. It's not about having the same, voices present every year. I think put that out of your mind. It's actually about how do we bring new perspectives and new voices? So you should be very encouraged and feel empowered to submit those proposals. Yes, a lot of proposals do come in. So it's not a guarantee that the proposal will be accepted, but we strongly encourage you to do that nonetheless. And a couple of other notes as we're thinking about this is we talked about the audience. The audience you will indicate in your session proposal. Who are you speaking to, right? Who is your session for? What we really recommend is that you be precise with this, right? In some rare cases, all audiences, yes, it may actually be applicable to all audiences, but you shouldn't use that as a catch-all. The more sharp you are, the more clear about your topic and who you're presenting to, the easier it's going to be for the committee to make its decision. Because remember, there's important decisions that have to be made around. There have to be significant content for every audience. Schools, universities, organization delegates, and it's really important that balance be there. Historically speaking, the minority of session proposals that have come in over the years have been for the university audience, right? So if you're looking at this, in the same way that you might look at, kind of university admission, fewer session proposals are actually coming in to speak to the university audience, right? So if you're a school counselor or even your university colleague and you have some wisdom to share, we really would encourage you to see how you can submit a proposal to serve that audience, right? To give insights to the university community. Very few, the bulk of the proposals come in actually for schools. So just give that some thought. And you want your session to be as complete as possible, your session proposal to be as complete as possible. It's easy to refine now, right? I think there are a lot of tools out there to help us refine. You bring your ideas, your original ideas for sure, and then you can use whatever tools to help really refine that and fit into where you are. The role of the moderator is also really key. The moderator is the coach, the quarterback, the facilitator, the organizer, the person who's going to be right at the center. You are the one who is responsible for communicating all of the information that's coming out to the conference, from the conference to your co-presenters. You'll be at the center of that. So as the moderator, you're really the one that is the glue. And that role is really critical. You would be the main point of contact for any decisions that will come out around the session and all of those pieces. So, well, we're looking at the chat. I don't know, Soma, Kerryn, if you're seeing any other questions here, or you had any other notes, but yeah, it looks like there is
There's,
a question here. Go ahead,
yeah,
I'll let
I
you
have
take that.
retired recently, so can I send proposals individually?
Hi,
So,
Ramesh.
yeah.
Hi, Ramesh. Yeah, you're very welcomed to submit proposals. Your proposals will still be held to the same review process as anyone else. And building a panel that is diverse, and certainly I would imagine your network is probably pretty vast, given where you are in your career. So you're very welcome to submit proposals. You have to have at least one co-presenter, right? That's a requirement of the form itself in order to do that and submit. And then, of course, any individual that's registering for the conference, there is a registration committee that reviews all of those. So obviously, there are certain parameters that need to be met. But we'd be happy to. Nothing that says a retired colleague cannot come to the conference, right? I'm sure there's a lot that we can learn from you, Ramesh. So we hope to see you there. It looks like there's another question here, Kerryn and Soma as well. I'll just read it out and maybe you can address. Can you share here more on what your preferred topic like authenticity means in the career as a culture realm in the classroom, library, school, playground would look like, or any of these environments as we are looking at counseling as a culture, which must have norms, ritualistic, or some festivals, or broken down as religion of counseling. Thank you for that, Ranjani, and I love the fact that you have renamed yourself Counseling as a Culture. That's a beautiful sentiment. But Soma, Kerryn, I don't know if you've got some insights onto that. Of course, Ranjani, it's not about one, sub theme over another. The committee is definitely wanting to have balance. My point in bringing up the authenticity one was that it resonates with me. And when I'm crafting my proposals, I'm probably keying in on some things that are related to that because I feel like that's really important to me. Which sub themes matter most to you? And that's what you should key in on. But Soma, Kerryn, we'd love to get your take on this too.
Yeah, I also, there is that additional details on the submission form too. So I feel like that's also a place where if you feel like some of these topics that you want to present on are overlapping, definitely mention that within the description or within the additional information part of the proposal. I think that's always great if we can see some of that overlap as well, if that's something that you really are passionate about.
Thanks, Kerryn. Soma, anything to add to that?
Yeah, just that there is, I mean, like we have six sub-themes, so we are not preferring one over the other because we feel that the six sub-themes that we have are equally important to the overall theme. So there is nothing that we prefer one over the other, but yes, like Jim, and because of the time that we are living in, that is one thing, the authentic representation of the self, leading to purposeful life is something that is resonating with us at the moment because of the, best of times and the worst of times that we are living in right now. That's
Yeah,
about
and
it.
thank you, Shoma. The overall theme of counseling as a culture, and I can only assume, Ranjani, that that's resonating with you, here, but that counseling as a culture, spend time on that theme document if you've not already. There are really great descriptions and sort of explanations and inspiration that you can get from that around what really, what can you bring forward as related to those sub themes. And then you draw from your own experience. You can draw from your own experience and then share that knowledge. And you can also put together a group of individuals or educators from your network that can also contribute to that. You don't always have to have all of the answers. I think one of the misconceptions about coming in and submitting a session proposal or even sitting on a panel is that you somehow have to be the foremost expert in that topic. Yes, of course, you want to, you need to be confident and comfortable and you have experience in that topic, but certainly willingness to discuss and reflect. I think there's a lot of gray area in the field of counseling and in the world at large right now. So if you can create an environment that even if you don't have all of the answers, you may have curiosity or seeing a gap that, hey, we're not talking enough about this subject. And if that really resonates with the committee, then by all means, I'm sure they would invite you to come and present that. So there are a couple of ways you can look at this, but as you're thinking of those themes, you find your inspiration, you key in on that, and then you build a really strong proposal connected to that. Thank you for the question. Okay, so we're really nearing the end of our time here. We're just scanning. If anyone else has a question, again, you can raise your hand, you can unmute. We're happy to hear your voices. You, of course, can use the chat, which we're monitoring. And I'm not seeing any questions come through. So happy session proposing. I also want to just thank not just Kerryn and Soma who are leading this session, but I also want to acknowledge, and I can see Sanchari, you've raised your hand just a moment. We'd be happy to hear that. And well, let's take that question and then we'll do our acknowledgements. Yes, please go ahead. You can unmute, Sanchari. We'd love that question.
Can you hear Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my question. I do not, firstly, this was a very, very insightful session. We are a counseling agency based out of Canada, and we have been counseling students for last 15 years. So we are an education consultant, but we are not a part of school or university. Are we allowed to submit a proposal?
I'm happy to address that, and thank you for being here and for the work you're doing to serve students. You're very welcome to submit a proposal. Anyone can submit a proposal.
Sorry, just because we have been counseling, and since what resonated is what you just said, what is that part that is missing from counseling? And over the period of time when we have counseled students, we realize a few aspects that had been missing, which could be a very relevant point for this proposal.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. And I will add that, yes, there is an approval process, not just for the session proposals, of course, that are made, but also any individual that expresses an interest to register for the conference. There is an approval process. There is a registration committee that reviews that. Obviously, IC3 is focused on counseling in schools. In the past, there have been a very small number of independent education counselors that have been invited to come to the conference. But typically they are demonstrating service to the school community in some way. So that will be up to the registration committee to decide. And what I would recommend is that you look very carefully at the various delegate types that are clearly outlined on the conference website, and then you carry that forward. But anyone is very welcome to submit a proposal, and the committee will certainly review that.
Yes,
so thank you for your question. Yes, thank you.
I did see that. There is a part which says organization. So what does that organization option mean?
Yeah, typically an organization delegate would be someone that is representing, as Soma had mentioned, she had referenced a study in France or a college board, a British council, could be any number of educational organizations that would be approved to attend. But the focus clearly is on counseling within schools. But again, we're grateful that you're here and the work that you're doing. What we'd encourage, we'll leave that to the committees to decide what is most appropriate in that regard. But yes, thank you for being here. And
thank you. Thank you for your.
Thank you so much. And okay, with that, I think we are at the end of our time. Thank you for being here with us. I want to thank the entire IC3 Content and Research Committee. We've got a number of our volunteer-based IC3 leaders here. You didn't hear from her today, but our dear colleague Rekha Krishnan, who is the chair of the committee, is also here. We want to thank Rekha, but we want to thank, of course, especially Kerryn and Soma for leading this webinar. A lot goes into the planning and to the preparation for this. So thank you so much, Kerryn and Soma, and of course for Ritika for welcoming us, our executive director for conferences and forums. And we're very happy to have had this discussion. Kerryn, Soma, closing word from you, and then we'll say farewell for now.
Yeah, thank you very, very much. I think we had some wonderful questions, and I'm very excited to read everyone's proposals and see what the topics are this year. So I definitely encourage you to get that in. But thank you also, IC3, for having me present with Soma.
Hi, everyone. So thank you, everyone, for listening to us and for being there right through to the end. And one last word would be just go ahead and submit a proposal. That's it.
That's a good way to end it. Thank you so much, Soma and Kerryn. Happy proposing. All the best. See you next time. See you soon.